Congresswoman Liz Cheney has lost her Republican Party primary contest to represent Wyoming in the House of Representatives. She conceded last night to Harriet Hageman, who won in a landslide, beating Cheney by nearly 40 points. The loss was expected for Cheney. Since the attack on the U.S. Capitol, she has been one of former President Donald Trump's loudest critics and serves as vice chair of the House Select Committee investigating January 6th. In her concession remarks, she made clear that she knew the political cost of standing up to Trump and that she would continue to work to keep him out of power.
2 years ago, I won this primary with 73% of the vote. I could easily have done the same again. The path was clear, but it would have required that I go along with President Trump's lie about the 2020 election. It would have required that I enable his ongoing efforts to unravel our democratic system and attack the foundations of our republic. That was a path I could not and would not take.
Trump had endorsed Hageman and campaigned for her. In her victory speech last night, she thanked him.
Wyoming has made clear that we are done being governed by the Washington, D.C. uniparty. Those Democrats and Republicans who don't really care which party is in power just as long as they are. But I did not do this on my own. Obviously, we're all very grateful to President Trump, who recognizes that Wyoming has only one congressional representative, and we have to make it count. His clear and unwavering support from the very beginning propelled us to victory tonight.
Here to discuss Cheney's defeat and what it says about the state of the Republican Party, I'm joined by Sarah Longwell. She's a strategist and founder of the Republican Accountability Project, a political action committee that works against Trump's election lies. And Tim Stubson. He's a former state representative in Wyoming who supported Cheney in this campaign. And welcome to both of you to the NewsHour. Tim Stubson, I'm going to start with you. Was there anything that Liz Cheney could have done to win this primary, given her opposition to former President Trump?
I think the only thing she could have done is run away from her decisions to vote for impeachment, to join the January 6th committee, and to really speak truth. If she would have run away from those things, maybe she would have had a chance. But by embracing them really with great courage, I think that sort of casts the die in this election.
Sarah Longwell, what do you see in these Wyoming results that clarify in any way the hold that former President Trump has on so many Republican voters?
I think it's been clear for a while now that Donald Trump's hold on the party is almost total. I mean, if you look across these primary elections, not just Liz Cheney's, but in all the GOP primaries, candidate after candidate has had to pay homage to the big lie in order to get Trump's endorsement. And the people who have embraced the big lie are the people who have won. And as a result, we have candidates across the country, Carrie Lake in Arizona, Doug Mastriano in Pennsylvania, Herschel Walker in Georgia. But it really is most of the candidates who have emerged are election deniers. And so that is the entire party. So it's not just about Trump anymore. It is about the forces that Donald Trump has unleashed in the Republican Party. And there really is no going back to the party that I came up in, to the party that I knew. It is now fully embraced Donald Trump and his anti-democratic, movement.
And so, Tim Stubson, what does that mean? I mean, you're in Wyoming. What does that mean for you as you look at your party, the Republican Party, going forward with this kind of allegiance to former President Trump and the denial of the last election?
Yeah, I don't think what Sarah says is wrong. We certainly saw down ballot the real power of Donald Trump's force in this election. We have a Secretary of State nominee now who's an election denier and likely will be our next Secretary of State. But maybe I'm a little bit more optimistic. I still believe that if we can get enough people of courage, of integrity, to stand up and really call truth, truth, and lie, lie, that we can change the direction of the Republican Party. It may not be the Republican Party it was yesterday, but it can be certainly a lot better than it is today.
Sarah Longwell, how do you see that happening? What arguments do you make to either Republicans who are today loyal to Donald Trump or to others who you might bring to the Republican Party to stand up to that, but still identify with the core of what the Republican Party believes, whatever that still is?
Yeah, there's really two things to do. One is you have to defeat these dangerous anti-democracy candidates in this upcoming 2022 election. And so, you know, swing voters have got to reject all of these people who are election deniers, because it is only through sustained electoral defeat that the Republican Party will have any incentive to change its current trajectory. The second thing it needs is a leader. And I think that's really what Liz Cheney has emerged as. You know, I've watched her through the January 6th committee. You know, she has been forged as a national leadership figure. And I think that, look, I don't think she's done. I think she made it very clear that she is probably going to run for president. I don't think she will run as an independent. I think she will run as the rock-ribbed conservative that she is. And I think she will take this sort of truth-telling that she's been doing directly to Donald Trump. And she will do, you know, she is not trying to put herself in the White House, I don't think. I think she is trying to make sure that Donald Trump does not get back into the White House.
And given that, Tim Stubson, what do you see happening when you have an appeal like the one Liz Cheney's going to be making, and perhaps other Republicans, up against the appeal of former President Trump and all the Republicans like Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who are big supporters of his?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a fairly sharp contrast, isn't it, between those other candidates and Liz Cheney. And she, I think, brings a unique and powerful voice to the discussion. I agree wholeheartedly that really, in many ways, she stands alone as the potential leader for a Republican Party that believes in fidelity to the Constitution, believes in the rule of law. And so, you know, it's going to take more than her, of course. It's going to take a number of people to stand up and be courageous and speak truth.
And so, I mean, how do you see this playing out, Sarah Longwell? I mean, not asking you to look at a crystal ball here, but how do you see this playing out? We hear Liz Cheney talking about the great task. This is what she's named this group that she's founding and organizing. How do they go about making that argument?
Look, first things first, I think she's going to continue her work on the January 6th committee until she has to leave office. And that has been incredibly impactful work. And so I think her job there is not done. And then, look, I think Donald Trump may very well announce, much to the chagrin of Republicans, he could announce before the midterms or shortly thereafter. And so there's actually not that much time before she would have to potentially make a decision whether to run as a Republican candidate. And when you run as a Republican candidate, and listen, I think there's a very narrow path for her to win. I do not think that is likely. And I also think they will go to great lengths to keep her from a debate stage, potentially even to keep her off a ballot. But she is ready to do a kamikaze mission for democracy. And she is going to, if they do that to her, she will continue to make her case. There is no bigger stage to reach Republican voters than running in a GOP primary. And Donald Trump has been able to make other people look small when he's gone against them. I don't think he can make Liz Cheney look small. She will look substantial standing up to him. And I think that she can change minds, if not of tons of Republican voters, then many of the swing voters who will decide the general election. And I think that's the plan.
I mean, hearing that, Tim Stubson, what are the arguments that you think Republican voters right now in Wyoming, I mean, you talk to a number of them who are with former President Trump. What argument could sway them, do you think?
I think you have to eventually make the case to them that the long-term health of our nation depends upon honoring our institutions, depends upon honoring our Constitution, depends upon making sure that everybody, including the President of the United States, is held to account under the rule of law. And I mean, Liz has been making that case and making it very, very strongly, ever since the beginning of the year. But it will be a difficult task, but I'm sure she's up to it.
Sarah Longwell, do you see her go? She said today she's thinking about running for president. Do you think she will?
I do think she will. I mean, I don't know that her, the way she's talking could be any clearer when she says, you know, when she calls it the task, when she says her job is not done, when she says she's just getting started. That sounds to me like a person who is ready to continue this fight. And I think she knows that the only way that you get the kind of attention and the kind of audience that she needs to sort of prosecute this case against Trump is by trying to either get on the stage with him or by saying that she is going to take him on for the Republican nomination. And people are going to dismiss that because they're going to say, well, Liz Cheney can't win. And the important thing to understand is that for her, I don't think that it is about winning. I think it is about making this case. I think it is about telling people about Donald Trump and the threat to American democracy and keeping him out of the White House.
Sarah Longwell, Tim Stubson, we thank you both.
Thank you.